William Shakespeare, one of the greatest authors of all time, was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, United Kingdom. His birth month and year is on April 1564. However, his specific date is uncertain. His education started at home up to the age of 7, where he attended the grammar school, the King's New School. He was believed to have left school at the age of 14. There is no record of Shakespeare ever going to a university, unlike his contemporary playwrights who attended universities. Despite that, Shakespeare later on became a founding member of the Lord Chamberlain's Men. He even wrote many of his most famous tragedies during his time there. One, which is the renowned book entitled The Tragedy of Macbeth, now formerly known as Macbeth. It was first performed in the year 1606 as a play.
The play was set during the 11th century in Scotland and is consisted of detail-rich characters, all having their own important significance to the plot. Starting off with Macbeth himself, Macbeth is a Scottish nobleman, the Thane of Glamis, later on made the Thane of Cawdor for his bravery in the battle. Of course, we won't forget about his wife, Lady Macbeth, who insisted to purposely kill Duncan in order to make Macbeth King of Scotland. Then, there's Banquo, a Scottish nobleman, general, and a friend to Macbeth. He's the father of Fleance. Another Scottish nobleman that was mentioned in the story is Macduff, also known as the Thane of Fife. Together with his wife, Lady Macduff, both had babies and a young son. King Duncan, the murdered victim of Macbeth and his wife, was the initial King of Scotland and is also the father of Malcolm and Donalbain. One of his sons, Malcolm, who was the eldest, is the designated heir to the throne of Scotland. Lastly are the Wade sisters. They are 3 witches who had foreseen a prophecy which convinces Macbeth to murder poor Duncan.
On their way back from battle, Macbeth and Banquo discover the 3 strange women, who tell them Macbeth's prophecy as the Thane of Cawdor and King of Scotland. They also tell them the prophecy of Banquo's descendants who will be king.
Speak if you can. What are you?
All hail Macbeth! Hail to thee, Thane of Glamis!
All hail Macbeth! Hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor!
All hail Macbeth! Thou shalt be king hereafter.
King, you say?
Yes, Macbeth, the Thane of Cawdor, and the future King of Scotland.
However, Banquo, thy descendants shall be heir to the throne right after Macbeth. Hail!
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 Banquo and Macbeth, all hail!
Soon afterwards, King Duncan names Macbeth as Thane of Cawdor as a reward for his triumphs in the recent battles. Macbeth starts to believe the 3 strange women's predictions. Lady Macbeth receives news of the prophecy and convinces Macbeth to kill King Duncan.
Heard about the prophecy. You'll soon be greater than all those titles once you become king. My dearest love, Duncan is coming here tonight.
We will proceed no further in this business.
Thou desire to become king. Hast money, power, fame, and everything?
If we should fail,
Fail! But screw your courage to the sticking place and will not fail.
At the appointed time, Lady Macbeth gets the guards drunk so that Macbeth could go in and kill the king. His wife then leaves the daggers to frame the guards.
I noticed you are quite tired. Why don't you take this beverage to re-energize?
I thank thee, Lady Macbeth.
We are grateful for thy generosity.
I am feeling quite drowsy. This drink is already taking effect.
What a strong mead!
The next morning, Macduff found the king's dead body. Macbeth pretends to be enraged.
our king is dead. Whoever killed him shall atone for their crimes.
Guards were the only one near the king last night. They must have done it.
The guards? What an outrage! Thou shalt be killed too.
No, we were drugged by the Lady Macbeth.
Nonsense! How dare thee throw false accusations at my wife, let alone a noble?
Macbeth then kills the framed guards.
Donalbain, we shall leave this kingdom at once.
Duncan's sons, Malcolm and Donalbain, flee, fearing for their lives. Macbeth becomes king of Scotland. Meanwhile, remembering the three strange women's predictions, he grows insecure of his position and hires
Guards,
murderers
I
to kill
want
Banquo
Banquo
and
and
his
his
son.
son killed immediately.
My son, don't thou feel any presence around?
What do you mean, father? Father!
Oh, treasury, fly, good flints. Fly, fly, fly. Thou means revenge.
Banquo was murdered, but Fleance escaped. One day at the banquet, Macbeth sees Banquo's ghost and appears mad to the court.
What? Why is he here?
His Highness seems to be not well.
Not. My lord just seems to be tired. Take some rest, dear.
He again meets the three strange women who say that he will be safe until a local wood, Birnam Wood, marches into battle against him.
Your Highness, thou came back. We has tidings for thee.
May I hear it?
Beware of Macduff. He also need not fear anyone born of woman.
They also say that Banquo's descendants will still be king no matter what.
In the meantime, Macduff finds Malcolm, Duncan's eldest son, and convinces him to lead an army against the current king.
Malcolm,
Macduff?
come with me. We must avenge the King of Scotland.
Why should we?
He killed my wife and son, and he's after me as well.
Then let us waste no time. I'm coming with you.
Macbeth feels safe inside his castle until he is told that Birnam Wood is moving towards him. Malcolm's army is using tree branches as camouflage for their assault.
Malcolm and Macduff is after us. Guards, be ready!
Around this time, Lady Macbeth still felt guilty and unhappy for killing King Duncan. She then does something that catches Macbeth off guard.
Tragic news, Your Highness.
What is it?
Thy wife, she committed suicide.
What?
Macbeth mourned when he heard the news about his dead wife. In the midst of a losing battle, Macbeth hears Macduff is a child of cesarean birth, realizes he is doomed, and submits to his enemy. Macduff then kills Macbeth by cutting off his head. He presents it to Malcolm and finally declares that he is the new king of Scotland.
Hail, King! For so thou art. Behold, where stands the usurper's cursed head.
Shakespeare's Macbeth was a very tragic story. It addressed the rise of Macbeth to his downfall and soon death. There were so much conflicts and betrayals all throughout. One is the social conflict of the main character, Macbeth, against Macduff and his family. It was also showed that Macbeth and Macduff fought to death in the final act. Another social conflict was Macduff's decision to lead the Scotland armies against Macbeth, which caused the conflict between Macbeth and Scotland. The last and most common conflict shown in the story was psychological conflict. Macbeth had a hard time deciding if killing the king will ruin his fate.
Macbeth's theme was all about ambition. Based on researches, ambition is a strong desire to do or achieve something, and it is well portrayed in the story. It's pretty much the whole point. The Weird Sisters prophecy urged both Macbeth and his wife, Lady Macbeth, to fulfill their ambitions. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth acted on their own to fulfill their desires. Both characters want to be powerful, which made them sacrifice their principles to achieve their goals.
Now we shall talk about the important symbolisms in the story. Visions and hallucinations. A number of times in Macbeth, Macbeth sees or hears strange things. The floating dagger, the voice that says he's murdering sleep, and Banquo's ghost. As Macbeth himself wonders about the dagger, are these sights and sounds supernatural visions or figments of his guilty imagination? The play contains no
What?
definitive answer,
Why is he here?
which is itself a kind of answer. They are both. Macbeth is a man at war with himself, his innate honor battling his ambition. Just as nature goes haywire when the normal natural order is ruptured, Macbeth's own mind does the same when it is forced to fight against itself.
Blood. Blood is always closely linked to violence, but over the course of Macbeth, blood comes to symbolize something else: guilt. Death and killing happen in an instant, but blood remains and stains. At the times when both Macbeth and Lady Macbeth feel most guilty, they despair that they will never be able to wash the blood or their guilt from their hands.
Sleep. When he murders Duncan, Macbeth thinks he hears a voice say, Macbeth does murder sleep. Sleep symbolizes innocence, purity, and a peace of mind. And in killing Duncan, Macbeth actually does murder sleep. Lady Macbeth begins to sleepwalk, and Macbeth is haunted by his nightmares.
You may be wondering, what is the moral of Macbeth and why did Shakespeare write the play? One of the morals is to beware of being overly ambitious. It can get you into huge trouble. While ambition is not a terrible trait, going overboard to the point of killing and betraying to get what you want is a big no. Though, the major moral is that power corrupts. We have control over our own lives. Macbeth decides that he does deserve to be king, because the witches put the idea in his head. Yet, the ambition was already there.
Shakespeare wrote the play to entertain King James I of England and to appeal to his Scottish roots. He is supposedly related to Banquo, one of the few honorable and admirable characters in the play.
Despite the story being published centuries ago, Macbeth will continue to live on. It is one of the most striking Shakespeare tragedies out there. It is not just the journey of a person from good fortuity to doom, but is interlaced with realities inherent in every person's life, which is what sets it apart in English literature.